Hello, hello. Hello, hello, and let there be light. All right. We planned that. Hey, well, Merry Christmas. Can I say that? Is it okay? I feel it should be. Like, you know, I'm saying my neighborhood, though, I don't know about yours, man. My neighborhood, we went from Halloween straight to Christmas. We skipped Thanksgiving, man, I'll tell you what. But it was great to have you. Also, like you already heard, this is the last installment of the series that we're doing. And we've been doing this series, basically, this big idea is like, hey, besides wanting a blessing, what does it look like for us to be a blessing? So that's like that's the thing. And so this is the last week. You're never going to have to watch that video again, okay? You're welcome. Some of you guys like, can we get rid of that? Can we get rid of that? Well, we're trying. We're going to do it. So as we jump into this last week, the last sayings of Jesus, and that's why it's been like a long series, is because like Jesus, and blame Jesus because it was a long sermon, you know, and he talked about all kinds of things that you're blessed. And so we're going to jump into that. We're going to hit the last one. But before we do that, let me ask you a real quick question, okay? How many of you have ever been misunderstood? Anybody just misunderstood? Yes? In life, yeah? You feel like you always are misunderstood. Anybody? And you're like, okay, you always. And you know what's interesting about that is like, I think we all face that. I remember once, though, this guy, has it ever gotten you into trouble? Anybody gotten you into trouble? Like you was trying to say the right thing or do the right thing, but it got you trouble, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like every good deed doesn't go unpunished kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? That kind of deal. So I remember years ago, as I first started off in pastorship, and doing pastoring. I was a college pastor, and I was talking to this college student, and she was talking to me about her family, and I just was like, man, I'm doing a great job with this. I think I'm going to be a counselor, pastor. It's going to be a good thing. And so then she started talking to me about her mom, and so we're just talking, and I thought, what's here stays here. You know what I'm saying? It's counseling situation. It stays here. And so she was talking about her mom and all that. And so the next couple of days later, her dad, because I knew them, this was a church I belonged to in South Carolina, and so I knew the family. So he comes up, and we'll just call him Mr. Rogers. Okay, can we just do that? Yeah, Mr. Rogers. Okay, came up, and he was like, hey, so I heard you talk to my daughter. And I was like, yeah, I did. Yes, I did. And I was like, yes, I did. And I fixed her, not really. And then he goes, oh, okay. And so she tells me that you think that my wife is controlling. Exactly. I was like, my English no good? I didn't really say that. And the whole conversation, I was trying to tell him that I kind of, maybe I did. I wasn't trying to say that. I wasn't trying to do that. And it just, it gets you into trouble. What's interesting about that, it's not just in like people that you work with. It's like, like people you're trying to help. It's also exists in family dynamics, right? I mean, it happens with friends and families. We just end up miscommunicating. People misunderstand what we're trying to say or do. Sometimes we do something good and we think it's going to be a good thing and it's really not a good thing. We're trying to help and it's not helping, apparently. It exists everywhere. And what happens with that? Well, what happens in that dynamic is that people end up not just, misunderstanding us, but it gets a little deeper. People start reacting to us differently. So people start like, I don't know, maybe just like not liking us. Has anybody stopped liking you? You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that. You say something and people, and right now, the world we live in, I mean, cancel culture. You guys heard about that? Anybody? Yeah, right? Yeah. So we just cancel people or we unfollow people. I mean, I've had people literally come to me. It's like, man, I started following you a couple of years ago, and then you said something, and that's the day I unfollowed you. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, I don't want to know. I just want to live in the world where everybody loves me. You know what I'm saying? And everybody follows me and all that. But people start doing some things. So what do you do? What do you do when people start acting a certain way? Your clients, your coworkers. You're trying to do the right thing, but and then you're tempted not to do the right thing. You're tempted to just go, you know what, I'm just going to do what everybody else is doing. So if everybody in this company is going to act a certain way, if everybody in this company is going to have this kind of attitude, I'll do the same. If everybody in this house, if everybody in my world is going to just act like that, I'll just do that. So what's happening when we end up succumbing to what everybody else is doing? It seems like we get conformed into the pattern or the trend of the culture. We just conform to it. And the truth is that marketers and all kinds of media coming, telling us and giving us information is basically saying this. It's basically telling us to conform. Conform into the norm, conform into the popular, conform into what's trending right now, just conform into that, be that kind of people. That's why trends work, right? Because people take a picture in a certain way and you're like, oh, that's trending, okay, let's do that again. We all want to do that way, we all want to be liked. The problem is that sometimes when teachings of Jesus are so intense because they basically say, no, you shouldn't conform, because conforming does not make you a blessing. No, what makes you a blessing is being transformed. So getting a blessing might not cost you anything, but being a blessing will cost you everything. And so that's why these sermons have been hard. And I'm so glad we're ending the series. It's sort of like a nice Christmas series next week. So this last thought that Jesus gives us, it's also one that he actually explains. Before it was like just one-liners. Blessed are those, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. But this time he explains it. So let's jump in. You guys ready? Chapter 5. We're in Matthew chapter what? Matthew chapter 5. It's on your app as well. So it says here, God blesses those, Jesus says, God blesses those who are what? Persecuted for doing what? Doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. What's interesting about this, right up, he doesn't say, blessed are you, but God blesses people who are persecuted for doing right, for they will be comforted, or something good will happen. They're like, no, the kingdom of heaven is yours. Okay, well, how does that help? And then he uses the word persecuted, the word persecuted. He says, God blesses those who are persecuted. I don't use that word, do you? Do you use that word a lot? I'm persecuted. If you do, no, you don't have a lot of friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm persecuted. Because why? Because the word persecuted, like some words out there, it always connected to a spiritual context, right? The word persecution is connected to religious. It's a religious word, right? Because some of you, if I were to ask you, are you persecuted for your faith? Are you persecuted for your faith? Some of you would say, not really. I mean, I kind of keep my Christianity on the down low, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one knows that I'm really a Christian. I mean, Jesus barely knows I'm a Christian. Barely. No one knows, you know? So I'm not really persecuted. I'm just persecuted for my opinions. That's a different verse. What about some of you would say, when I think of the word persecution, man, I don't know. I think of global stuff. Yeah, that's what I think of. I think of global stuff. I mean, I get that. Some stats say that 1 in 7 Christians around the world is persecuted for their faith. I mean, these are countries that have either a militant group or authoritative structures or a majority religion. And so to live and exist in them is very hard. And you're going to get some kind of persecution, some kind of discrimination, things like that happen. I live in one. And so I lived in one. I should say I live in one. Maybe I do. I don't know. I used to live in one. This was in Kuwait. So I was born and raised in the Middle East, and they're a Muslim country. I grew up Muslim, so that was all chill because I'm actually Pakistani. Pakistan is also Muslim. So we're all good. But then I came here, and all of a sudden I decided I'm going to be a Christian. And so when that happened, that's when things changed. Because by law, for them, they have laws that would punish me because of my conversion. So it's not just persecution, it's more like execution. So they would do that. And because of that, the government here, the U.S., gave me religious asylum to stay in the country. And so I was allowed to stay here, went through all kinds of immigration stuff, finally got citizenship. So I'm excited about that. That's great. But people ask me, man, did you get persecuted? I'm like, not here, honestly. If I was back there, yeah. But here, not really. Not really. I mean, I'm not quite sure. And I get that. But I think what's really good about that is that sometimes we can take our stuff that we go through and just say, oh, it's no big deal. But for Jesus, it is a big deal. See, some of us are trying to do the right thing by our family. You're trying to do the right thing at work. You're trying to do the right thing in terms of your value system. Like the way you live, the way you create a culture around you, the way you are trying to instill certain values in your company. The way you do business, you're trying to do that. The way you teach your kids, you feel like this is the right thing to do. And the way you treat people. See, some of us are trying to be as accepting as possible, as loving as possible, as merciful as possible, as wanting to help people out as much as possible. And have you noticed that sometimes you just get a pushback because you're a little too loving and you're too gracious and you're too whatever. It seems like. And sometimes what happens is, what you don't realize is that what you and I are doing, we are swimming in a certain direction and the current of culture is going the other way. And so if you feel the friction of doing right, if you feel the pressure of like you seem like you're swimming up current or whatever, you feel it's that because the world is moving into the culture is continually going to be going in a particular direction, and Jesus' teachings are countercultural. They're just countercultural. I just want you to know it. Because here's what Jesus says. He says, hey, God blesses people, right? And there's the kingdom, right? But then he goes on and explains it, and here's what he says. He says, God blesses you when people do what? What they do? When they mock you and persecute you and lie about you and saying all kinds of evil things against you, and because you are my followers. Let me ask you, have you ever had someone lie about you? Your character, what really happened? It happens at work all the time, right? And you're like, that didn't happen. You want to defend yourself. Have you ever had people just mock you? I have people mock me with my faith and just mock you like, oh, you're ridiculous. I mean, the way you act, the way you say, the things you say, I don't know. You're naive. You're naive. This is not how the world works, man. This is not how you do it. If you want to get further in business, if you want to get further in relationships, if you're going to get further in life, this is what you got to do. Okay? It's the survival of the what? The fittest, man. It's a dog-eat-dog world. We're doing church in the wild here. Come on. And then Jesus goes, no, you're actually being a blessing. You're actually being a blessing. You're being a blessing when you do something where people want to mock you, persecute you, and say lies and evil things about you. Really. And then he says, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to be what? Really? Be happy. Be happy. And then he says, be very what? Glad. For great reward does what? It's waiting you. It's waiting on you. There's something waiting for you in heaven. He says, I want you to know this. And then he also says, I want you to remember that what he says what? He says, I want you to remember that you're part of a bigger story. Huh? What? You're part of what? The ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. Remember, you're standing in the space of where other people have stood to do right, to want justice, to love mercy. You're doing the right thing. When you stand in the right thing, the few, the brave, the proud, the Marine, they stand there. But it's not everybody else. It's not everybody else. So you're a blessing when you do that. So let me ask you, and if you're living a life right now, like we're living a world right now, in a world right now, where you're like, I feel like I can't, I don't know, man. Maybe I just need to just go with the flow. Just go with the flow, man, and life will be easy. I want you to know, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't give up. Here's a couple of things. Number one, I want you to know that when it comes to persecution or people mocking you or lying about you or saying all kinds of things about you, first of all, it's going to start at home. It's going to start at home. It's going to start at home. It starts close. In fact, Jesus talks about it. He talks about the fact that here's what's going to happen. And we'll read the verse a little bit later on. But here's what he's basically saying. He's saying it's always persecution, people's misunderstanding you, misinterpreting, lying about you, not understanding what you really meant by when you send that text. I don't know. It's a family text. I said what I said. You're like, what's going on? It starts at home. It hurts too. It hurts. So if you look up the history of the church, when Jesus, was resurrected and the church started, the book of Acts kind of chronicles that, right? He talks about, hey, what happened? And he says that basically, if you read it, you find that for about the first 60 years or so, the first few chapters of the book, that the church has a lot of persecution. And the reason why they have persecution is because well, they were trying to live a different kind of life. But the question is, why? Who were persecuting them? Like, what is the big deal? Well, you find out that the persecution came from this one particular group called the Sanhedrin. Can you guys say Sanhedrin? Sanhedrin. These are about 70 people or so. They were the Supreme Court, if you will, the people who made all the laws, Jewish laws back in that day. They basically said what was good, what was kosher, what was not. And they're also the main people that got Jesus tortured and killed. They're the people that got him arrested. They're the people who dug him through all the court systems. They're the people who slapped him around. They're the people who interviewed him. Those are the people who were always in the back when he was doing his sermon stuff. They'd be like, but what about this? And what about this? And what about that? And what about that? Those were the guys. And so these people, you find out the early church, it came from fellow Jewish people. So Jewish people were hurting, abusing other Jewish people the first 60 years after the movement of Jesus started. In fact, you guys remember Paul the Apostle? Paul the Apostle. Did you know that was not his original name? His original name was what? Saul. Guess what he was a part of? The Sanhedrin. Exactly. He was so adamant because he was like, this whole Jesus way is got to end. This is a reformation in one sense, or against Judaism. We don't want any of this. In fact, the early days, they called it the way. Like, they didn't call it Christianity. They called it the way. The Jewish people were acting a different kind of way. Here's what they were doing. They were allowing Gentiles to worship with them. What? They were eating whatever they wanted to. Are you kidding me right now? Also, they weren't making a big deal about circumcision. What? The Jewish people were like, we had that on lockdown. You can't be telling people not to go. No. And including people, their way, the way was, they believed that Jesus was the Messiah, that he was including everybody, that they were no longer the special people. It was for the world. Jesus came for the world. And they were like, shut that down. Paul the Apostle before he got converted, he helped execute disciples. Execute them. That was a big deal. It started at home. So if you feel like the people closest to you misunderstand you the most, well, you're in good company. I mean, it is what it is. And then it started, actually, then the Romans got involved. And basically, because they started spreading rumors, and now the Romans believed that the people of the way were now doing communion. And communion, back in the day, they thought was basically drinking human blood. So they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They believed all kinds of nonsense about them. And so persecution kept on going. And lies beget lies and kept on going. Why do I tell you this? I tell you this because if you're going to find yourself in a place where you like, I really want to be a follower of Jesus, someone, and probably another Jesus follower is going to be the person who's going to come at you the most. Did you hear me? It's not non-believers. It's not like you living your Christian life and there are other people like Muslims or Sikhs or Buddhists be like, oh man, you guys, oh no. If you do something out of mercy or love, if you say something, it's other Christians. It's other Christians who are going to come at you. I did not know this. When I started this church about almost 20 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to come. My persecution is going to come from, Muslims. None. Muslims don't care. You know who does care? Other Christians and their opinions. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What is wrong? Just recently, just because of I started getting on my Instagram, I started getting DMs from pastors, okay, of like this stuff about Islam, okay? And so there's this flooding my DMs were like, hey, Islam is taking over, we're electing all these people, Islam's gonna take over the world and all that. And I'm like, I remember when last time this happened. When this happened, there was major discrimination between, amongst, or against Muslims, and it was after 9/11. I'm like, let's not start this fear thing. Let's not start this thing. Why? Because fear justifies mistrust, and mistrust justifies prejudice all day long. And it'll keep on, and you'll start this. So Islamophobia, let's not do this. So I made a video. I was like, it's going to be good. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a video. I say, hey guys, hey, those of you, if you fear, what's happening in the world, just want you to know, Muslims, our brothers and sisters, they're all good. I didn't say something like that, but I didn't say that. I'd be more professional than that. I was like, it's all good. And then I said, hey, but by the way, we're not supposed to be like, being led by fear. We're people of love. We're supposed to be led by love. And quoted scripture and all that. I was like, this is great. Just tell people, hey, be led by love. Don't let fear lead your life. I thought, this is really good. A guy, I don't know if I should call him a buddy anymore. I don't know. But he's got my number. He's texted me before. Local pastor. Comes at me full on. He's like, Islamophobia is a made up word. I was like, first of all words are made up, bro. Like, what? I didn't say that to him. I was like, what? No, it started in the 1940s, bro. That's not, no, and then he was like, you're perpetuating white guilt. I'm like, what? I didn't say anything about any white, like, dude. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know about white guilt because I'm not white. But anyways, like, I didn't want to say any of that. I was just like, hey, what's going on? And this isn't the first time. But here's my problem. You have my number. Do you know what I'm saying? You just text me. Hey, man, let's go grab coffee. What did you mean by that? Great. No, don't come at, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I'll tell you what. I tell people, Muslims have not made a case for me to leave Islam. Like, Muslims never made a case for me to leave Islam. I never looked at the Muslims and went, oh my gosh, I'm going to leave Islam. But Christians are making a good case to leave Christianity. And that's why some of us are like, I don't even want to tell people. I don't even want to tell people. I just want to hide. And I just want you to know, it's okay. It's okay. Jesus got betrayed by his best friends. It's going to happen. But that doesn't mean you stop doing what is right and what is good. And Jesus was like, hey, you're going to be persecuted, but just know this. Just know this. Your reward waits in heaven. Just know this. So then the question is, then God, why don't you just fix it, right? Like a lot of things he should fix. Why doesn't he just fix it? And I believe that God has allowed persecution in our life when people misunderstand us. He's allowed this pressure. He's allowed certain, stuff happen to us. It's like a fire that purifies us. Why? Because it is what transforms us into who he wants us to be. It allows us not to conform. It always reminds us, hey, the pushback right now is because people in your life want you to conform to their opinions and their standards. And if you feel this rub that I want to do the right thing, I want to be this kind of person, that when you step into that, that's when you step into transformation, not being conformed. And so it's a good thing. So I just kind of thought of what three things that I believe that God allows, the reason why he allows persecution in our lives. Number one, I want to remind you guys is that you're doing God's will. So when you feel this pushback, when you feel that other good people are coming against you, just because you're being the most loving or most accepting or most whatever giving, I don't even know. But when you're doing good, man, you're doing God's will. When you're doing good, remember, you're doing God's will. Some of you guys I want to know what God's will is. I want to know, God, tell me. Just do good. When you do good, guess what you're doing? You're doing what? You're doing God's will. Just do good. Do good. You have to know this. You have to know this because there'll be moments in your life that people will come at you and people will threaten you and say all kinds of things, and you feel the pressure of like, I just need to explain myself. I just need to defend myself. Have you ever felt like you need to do that? So I need to defend myself. And this is a really amazing moment in Jesus' life where he gets his journey to the cross started with him being interrogated by a guy named Pilate. And in that moment, Pilate is really ticked off at him because Jesus is sitting there, and Pilate says, these people are saying all these things against you. They're saying this, and this. And he says, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And Jesus is not defending himself. And he's really frustrated about that. He's so frustrated about that. He basically says to him, he says, do you not know that I have the power to crucify you or set you free? I have got that power. And this is what Jesus says to him. He says this. He says, you would, help me out, you would have what? No power over me if it weren't what? Given to you from above. He's like, you would not have any power. You would have no power. The reason I'm giving, because of God, I'm letting you say this stuff about me. I'm not responding. Because this moment, I want you to know, you have no power. Your lies, your threats, your rumors about me, your gossip about me has no power. The only power that comes is from above. And the reason why you're in this place is because I am letting you. It's in moments like that when we find ourselves like we want to defend our stuff. There have been times that people have said all kinds of things about me, and I'm like, I just want to defend myself. I just want, hey, can I just tell you my side? Can I just tell you my side? And in moments like that, I gotta go, you know what? It doesn't, no. I just know that it's not, I just have to do what I have to do. What I'm called to do. I've got to stick it out and do what is right. And I don't worry about trying to defend myself and explain myself to everybody out there. I'm going to do what is good. And I'm going to do what is right. I love this passage in 2 Corinthians. It says this. It's a powerful one. It says, we are hard pressed on what? On how many sides? Every side. He's like, I feel like that. He said, there are times that we are hard pressed on every side. Like everything is coming against us. Have you ever felt that way? He says, but. I just want you to know, you're not what? You're not crushed. You won't be crushed. You're perplexed. Like you're confused. You're like, I'm not quite sure what I should do. But I just want you to know, you are never in what? You're not in despair. You're not in despair. You're persecuted. You feel like you're persecuted. But let me just tell you, you are never what? Abandoned. You're not abandoned. Why? Because you're in the center of God's will right there. And you might be struck down, but you will never be what? Destroyed. It says that the activity, the things that you are doing there will never be destroyed. And then he keeps on going. He says, and so he says, we remind ourselves, we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus. Reminding ourselves of what he went through. The persecution that led to his crucifixion. And we carry that with us in our minds so that the life of Jesus may be what? Revealed in our bodies. So he says, I remember that, so now I know that when I have to respond or act, I do what Jesus would do. Because I remember his death, I'm living out his life. So you are doing God's will. Secondly, here's what's cool. You'll experience God's Spirit in powerful ways. See, some of us, we maybe grew up in a church where you're like, oh my gosh, man, on Sunday services, man, people were like feeling the Spirit, all kinds of things happening. Others of us, you're like, I don't know about that. I want you to know, if you've ever been in a moment where you just feel like God moving in you and through you, maybe it's in times when we're singing a song, maybe in moments where you're just like, I don't know, just moments where you just feel his presence. If you want that, I want you to know, when you are persecuted for doing the right things, of having the right values, treating your clients, your kids right, for not having to defend yourself all the time. When you just do the right things, when you hold on to your center, you will experience God's Spirit like you've never experienced before. Let me read you this passage. It's pretty powerful. Let's put it on the screen. Jesus says, I'm sending you out. Okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm sending you out like sheep among what? Wolves. It's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like you're the weak. You're the naive ones. You're the weak in the society. You're the ones who, you guys are fragile. No, I'm just telling you, I'm sending you. I'm sending you out like that. But I want you to be as cunning as what? Serpents. Cunning as serpents, but innocent as doves. Watch out for those people who will hand you over to their local councils and will whip you where? In their synagogues. He says, I want you to know that there'll come a time when your own people will whip you in their services. And this happened. This happened. And then he says this. He says, but you will be brought before governors and kings before me to testify to them and to the unbelievers. When they hand you over, don't what? He says, don't worry. Don't worry, because in that hour, don't worry what you're going to say or what you're going to do, because in that hour, in that moment, basically, in that moment, you're going to experience something that you've rarely we get to experience. In that very moment, there's going to be a time where you are going to say that will be whatever will be given to you. It'll be given to you. Let's go, next verse. It says, it won't be you speaking, but the Spirit of what? The Father speaking through you. He says there's going to be a flow that all of a sudden everything quiets down and you know that God is speaking through you. There'll be moments in your life that you experience God in such a profound way. One, it's going to transform you because you're hearing God's voice. And secondly, when you get to respond a certain way, I'll tell you what it does. It speaks to who your Father is. So don't worry about always trying to defend yourself or trying to explain yourself away. Now, I mean, obviously, if you've miscommunicated, you got to clarify some things. But when it comes to like, man, explaining how and why you act the way you treat your clients, the way you deal with money. I mean, if you don't have to explain your values all the time. But if you are in a moment where you have to, I just want you to know, it's moments like that that God will speak through you. So be encouraged. Be encouraged that God's going to meet you in that moment and he's going to reveal to everybody else who he really is. All right, let me give you the last thing. The last thing is basically this persecution prepares us for the coming kingdom. It prepares us for the coming kingdom. It's again transforming us to citizens that are not of this world. And sometimes it's just so hard because you're like, everybody else is doing this. And I'm the only person in my friend group. I'm the only person at work. I'm the only person out there trying to do this. And I get it. You know what? Transformation costs you everything, but it transforms you into the citizen of the kingdom. It does that. And so I want to remind you, be encouraged by that. Be encouraged by that. And for some of us, it's just so tough to be in a world that you're like, but they're all opposing the way of Jesus. And I get it. And you're like, I get it. But here's what you're doing. It's preparing you because you're living out your faith. You're actually living out your faith. So there's a passage in the scripture where this guy talks about what faith is. Okay, he talks about it. He starts this passage off, and he just explains what faith is, and then he gives points, like not points. He brings up people that have done amazing things through faith, and he starts listing all the things. I mean, just the scene that people come to life, and seen provision, and he just kind of starts listing all the people in the Old Testament, and keeps on going. And this is the writer of Hebrews, and Hebrews does that. And then he says this. He says, but then there were the others. And these other people, by faith, were brutally tortured, but refused to be ransomed. They're brutally tortured for their faith. In faith. You're like, oh, I thought faith was supposed to be good. Yeah, in faith, they did this. They are part of that lineage. so they might receive a better resurrection. Still others endured what? Taunts and floggings and even chains and imprisonment. Wow. Man, that's intense. It gets worse. He says, and then there were those who were what? Stoned to death. Sawed in half. What? Sawed in half and killed with the sword. They went around in sheepskin and goatskins. They were what? They were needy. They were oppressed. And they were what? They were mistreated. And then he says this. I love this line. He says, but I'll tell you what. I know they went through all kinds of things. Let me just tell you why they are mentioned in this, why these people had great faith. I'll tell you why, because the world wasn't worthy of them. They were too good for this world. It seemed like they would go through all kinds of things because they were focused on another world. And so let me ask you guys, when you find yourself just going, I am being misunderstood, I don't know what's going on, I just want you to be encouraged. Do not give up. Do not give in. Do not give up. Do not give in. Do not conform. Allow God to transform you. Allow God to move you into being the most bravest and the most courageous person you could become. And do good regardless if everybody else criticizes. Do good and be merciful regardless if everybody else says, no, but what about this? No, be the most loving, most accepting, be the most beautiful people, beautiful expression of who God is. Because then you know that you're preparing for God's kingdom. And you might think, Naeem, dude, it's not going to work. If I'm do this, I will get stepped on. I will get stepped on in this world. I know you'll get stepped on in this world, but you're not made for this world. If you act like the kingdom of heaven, citizens of kingdom, you're not worthy of it. The world's not worthy of you guys. So what would it look like? I know these are extreme things, but what would it look like for us to change our perspective tomorrow? And how we are persecuted or people come at us. What if we were to not be triggered to respond so quickly or defend so violently? What if we just allowed God's kingdom to work in our lives, in us and through us? So that's my prayer for us. That's my prayer. So I want to pray for you. Can I do that? Let's pray together. Lord God, thank you so much for your love for us. Thank you that you are the God who understands what persecution is in the extreme way. God, you've had people misunderstand you, mistreat you, misinterpret you. Yet, God, you have grace and mercy for humanity. God, as I think about all the things that, yes, people around you in this world has done, you are still gracious, you're still loving, and you still do good when it comes to us. So God, I pray that we would be citizens of you. We would be people like you, knowing, God, that when we are threatened or when we're just in despair, realizing and thinking, why do I try so hard to explain to people and they're not getting it? God, I pray moments like those that we would just rest in the fact that, God, that you get us, you understand us, and our job is just to do good. So God, I pray, God, that we would be people who are convinced that you're in us, that you're working through us. God, give us today the encouragement that we need to keep going, to not conform, but to be transformed, God. God, because the kingdom waits for us, and we thank you for that. God, I pray that as we go and respond, as we go to the cross, as we go receive communion or light a candle, God, you would speak to us and what this moment means today for us. God, we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's stand together.